What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. Guys, as always, happy to have you here. Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, good night to you, whatever time of day it is, whatever day it is you're listening to this. Happy to have you here. Guys, it's good to be back in front of the camera. I know we had a replay up last week. To be honest, I don't exactly know what happened that we didn't get a new one out for you. But nonetheless, episode 150 is out right now, is what you're listening to. And I made sure that there was not going to be a replay or some little podunk, something I just throw together, whatever it is for episode 150. Pretty big accomplishment, pretty big milestone for myself. If there's anybody out there who's actually listened to all 150 episodes I put out, I got a prize for you. I can't tell you what the prize is, but you let me know you've listened to all 150 of them and we'll talk. But guys, today I want to talk a little bit about the topic of knowing your value and proving your worth. A little bit of this comes from the business side of stuff where, we're getting into busy season, right? So we got to make sure that we know what our value is. We have to be proving our worth to our clients, our vendors, our teammates, whatever it may be. But also from the employment side, right? Something I've noticed is there definitely seems to be a little bit more of a competition for good quality individuals that are looking to join good quality teams. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of just those two different things, and hopefully provide a little bit of value for wherever you may be at and whatever journey you are on right now. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, guys. All right. Welcome back. Like I said, I want to talk a little bit about proven value and knowing your worth today. So where this stems from, guys, like I say a lot, is I try to think about what sort of content, what information, what lessons learned, if I could have told myself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, would have helped me. And one of the things that I've had to learn over the years is when you're on the journey, and this is more of, this could be the business side of stuff, or this could even be the personal side, from an employment standpoint. When you're early on in the journey, your job is to prove your worth, right? Because everything that you have, everything that you're trying to sell is assumptions. It's assuming that you know how to do a service. It's assuming that you're competent in accomplishing a task. It's assuming that you have the drive and grit and determination that you say you do. Right. So you have to constantly be focused on proving your worth, time in and time out. From a business standpoint, when you're a brand new business, when you're early on into a new market or just new business all in general, nobody knows who you are. You don't have the Google reviews to back you up. You don't have the client testimonials. You don't have the referrals or the references or anything like that. You just have what people are assuming about you. And so you have to make sure that you are constantly focused on proving your worth to those new clients. Things like that can include answering the phone call when it rings, returning messages if you miss one, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Giving a fair price for a fair quality work, right? I mean, by fair, I mean a good. Like you're giving a good service, a fair price for it. You're having to prove to people that you are worth what you say you're worth. Same thing when it comes to an employment standpoint, right? Everybody can come into an interview, fill out an application, make a resume, whatever it is, and put the highlight reels out there, right? All the best moments you've ever had as an employee somewhere, as a team member somewhere, that's what you're going to talk about. You're given the highlight reels. But when it comes down to it, when you're brand new into an industry or brand new into a company, you have to prove your worth. And the only way to prove your worth is by following through with actions. So you may talk about, hey, I'm the first person there and the last one to leave every day. And if you do that for the first day, 2 days, maybe a week, and then you start slipping off, well, you've done nothing to prove your worth that you said you were going to bring to the table. If you say that you can operate a piece of equipment and you don't know how to turn the dang thing on, you're going to get found out, right? So whatever it may be, if you're talking to your new employer, your new team, a new client, whatever it might be, and you're having that stage of, you're in that stage of proving your worth, make really sure that that's your main focus day in and day out. Because if you prove your worth long enough and consistently enough, then you have the opportunity to make sure that you know your value. Okay. Knowing your value only comes after an extended period of time of proving your worth. And the reason why this is kind of front of mind for me right now, guys, is this year so far, 2025, from a business standpoint, has started off very well for us. We're getting a lot of opportunities to look at. We're getting a lot of work to put on the schedule. We're getting a lot of repeat clients that we've worked with for years, and they're wanting to come back for more projects, whether it's with them, they're referring us out, whatever it might be. So we've been fortunate to have a good start to the year. But as I'm sitting here and doing my job of analyzing, well, why is it that our year is starting off well? You know, I'm happy about it. I'll take that all day long, but I need to know why. And because I need to know why, because if I don't know why, and I can't duplicate this year over year over year, well, then we have very little security of longevity for the business. And so when I'm sitting here evaluating and having discussions with people, it's like, so what is it? What do we think the thing is, right? Because it's not like we're offering these big discounts or big deals. It's not like we're over here, giving 2-for-1 specials. It's not like we're, just, whatever it may be that would just naturally attract people in. The thing that I kept coming back to is, man, like, we've been very consistent in proving our worth to our clients over the years. We've been very consistent in doing what we say we were going to do when we say we're going to do it. We've been very consistent in making sure that we're providing the highest quality results that we're capable of providing. We've been very consistent in putting the customer experience that they have with our business front of mind. We've been consistent. We've been proving our worth day in and day out. If you've been around my business for any moment of time, you've probably heard me say the joke every now and then when I say, man, one day we're going to have a real business. And I say that lightheartedly because people kind of look at me and they're like, I hope this is a real business. This is where I get my paycheck every week and where I spend 40, 50 hours a week. But I say it in jest because I want to make sure that everyone around me knows that I feel like every day is day one. And if every day is day one and day one's task is to prove my worth, well, then every day that we're showing up to prove our worth. Every day we're showing up to be consistent. Every day we're fighting like it's the first day we're in business. Like no matter how many projects we've done with somebody, we're going to still treat them like it's the first opportunity we got with them. Now, sure, if you're listening to this and you're a repeat client or you've been in the business, you know that, yes, we develop relationships with individuals. So not every little thing is treated like the very first day. But the importance of the relationships that we build with these individuals is treated like it's the very first day. And the importance of the opportunity that these individuals are trusting us with is treated like it's the very first day. And like I said before, on that very first day, you're proving your worth. If you're saying you're going to show up and be on time, by God, you better show up and be on time. If you're saying that we're going to, communicate with you this way, or we're going to make sure we update you on this, or we're going to have this crew out here doing this on this day at this time in this place, then you have to do that. And again, it's no different than if you're talking about employment with a company, because over time you've proved your worth long enough. That's great. But I'm telling you right now, there's going to be somebody else that comes along that wants to prove their worth too. And if you've gotten complacent and not in proving your worth and you're just coasting along, somebody's going to come along and overtake you, whether it's in the employee situation or whether it's in the business situation. And so making sure that you're constantly working on proving that worth and knowing your value is going to result in the consistent outcomes. So knowing our value comes into place because, like I said before, when I was trying to figure out, what is it that was starting this year off great, it's that we know the value we bring to the table because of how long we proved our worth. And so now that we know the value that we bring to the table, that it's one of our core values is providing, create a great experience to our clients. The fact that we know that and we know the value we bring, then we hone in on that every chance we get. We hone in on that client interaction that we get when they call the front office. We hone in on that client interaction when we're going out and doing an assessment for their property. We hone in on that client interaction when we're scheduling the project and making sure that we're going to try and cause as little interference to their business or their property as possible. We hone in on the things because we know the value we bring to the table, but we only know the value we bring to the table after so many years of proving our worth. Too many people want to jump into it and say, in our case, you're in the pavement world, well, I can paint a parking lot perfectly. I should get XYZ. Well, I hate to break it to you, pal. World owes you nothing. And until you've proved your worth time and time again, you have no consistent value to offer. But if you show up day in and day out and you put out that great quality, you provide that great experience, you give them something that they just feel like they don't want to do without the next time they need it, then yeah, you're going to get people coming back to you and you have value to know. But you have to prove the worth first. And so it also ties into the other side of it too, right? And this is where it gets into where I wish I would have known this early on. Because it's a little bit of a dichotomy between the proving your worth and knowing your value. But early on in business, oftentimes you have to take on projects, work with clients, just do the jobs that you don't really necessarily want to do, or you don't know at the time you don't want to do them, but you have to do them in order to, like I said, prove your worth. You got to prove that you can show up and handle the little jobs. You got to prove that you can show up and handle the crappy jobs. Do the jobs for a little cheaper than maybe the other guys are doing that have proven their worth for much longer than you have. But as you do that long enough, guys, and you start getting to the point where, yep, I'm consistent in this, something you need to remember when it comes to knowing your value is that not every client has to be yours. Not every opportunity has to be yours. Because unfortunately, just like all contractors are not created equal, not all clients are created equal either. There are going to be clients out there who want to try and take advantage of you. There's going to be clients out there who are going to just beat you up on your price or on this or that, the schedule, the scope, whatever it might be. There's going to be clients that are just flat out not enjoyable to work with. And as long as you've proven your worth for long enough to allow yourself and others to know your value confidently enough, you need to remember what that value is you bring to the table. Because just because you may not discount your prices as a way of, reducing your value, just because you may not give out freebies as a way of reducing your value, it doesn't mean that if you take on projects with clients who don't respect the value you bring to the table, that's a way to reduce your value, right? Because you'll know that inside at a bare minimum, but also people see you out and about. Your employees on your team see where you're sending them to go work. They see the type of people that you're wanting to interact with, that you're doing business with. And so that has a reflection on you, right? Not every time are you able to control that, right? Not every time are you able to say, hey, we're only going to do this, and this, and that's it. There's going to be ones that slip through the cracks. So I'm not saying this is a foolproof plan, but I can tell you after 8 going on 9 years of doing this in this business, that there's clients that approach us that just aren't for us. And that's okay, because there's a contractor out there for them, right? I oftentimes use the comparison of the restaurant world to our business. I tell people, I say, for the longest time, I said, I want to be the Ruth Chris of the pavement maintenance industry. And a lot of people roll their eyes. They say, Ruth Chris isn't actually that great. I'm like, okay, well, you're obviously not Ruth Chris client. No problem, right? But the clientele that's going to be going to Applebee's on Friday night and the clientele that's going to be going to Ruth Chris on a Friday night are oftentimes two different clientele. Nothing wrong with either one of the clientele. They both have pros and they both have cons. But the clients that go to a Ruth Chris on a Friday night go into it with a high expectation. They go into it expecting, white tablecloth service. They go into it expecting professional servers and wait staff at the restaurant. They go into it expecting their orders that they place to be brought out correctly. And if they come out wrong, they go into it expecting that they're going to mitigate it instantaneously and make sure that they're happy in their experience. The people that go into the Applebee's on a Friday night may have the similar expectations, but they're going to be oftentimes a whole lot more difficult to work with. They might be the ones that leave all the crayons and crumbs under the table because they come in with their family of 18 kids and they just can't keep a hold of them. They might be the ones that want to gripe and complain about something that they didn't actually order, but they think they did, and they're trying to get a meal for free, right? You have different types of clientele. And if you want to say I'm stereotyping, you can say I'm stereotyping. I don't really care. That's not the point of this. I'm just trying to make a point that not every client's for you. Okay. Because if the Applebee's client goes into the Ruth Chris, there's a good chance they're not going to enjoy that experience. And if the Ruth Chris client goes into an Applebee's, there's a good chance they're not going to enjoy that experience. So it goes both ways. Not every restaurant is for every person who eats food, and not every person who eats food is the client that every restaurant wants. And so when you're building your business, when you're building your brand, and when you're building your client list, take that stuff into account. Who do you want to work with? What type of individuals do you want to see come in your email inbox or show up on your phone for a phone call or have an opportunity come to your office to work with them? What are those types of people that you want to work with? Because if you prove your worth for long enough and consistently enough, and you get to a point where you confidently know your value and the people around you confidently know your value, then you have to make sure that you implement that value and you hold the standards to not just yourself and your own team, but also the people you work with. Because I can tell you right now, out of the billions of people on the face of this earth, if you're building a business and you feel like you're a slave to it, if you feel like you're a slave to the clients, if you feel like you're a slave to the vendors, a slave to whoever, you're not building a business. You're building a job that happens to have an employee identification number. Okay. Which means you have a whole lot more headaches than other people who just work at a company, but you do it to say that you own a business. Okay. The reason I'm passionate about this right now, I was out golfing this past weekend, and I asked one of the guys that we got paired up with. I just, I make small talk on the course, just getting to know people. And I asked him, I say, hey man, like, what's one of the things that you're enjoying most about in life right now? Like, what's one of the best things going on in your life? And he said it was his children. He's got 2 children, 2 young boys that he loves very much, gets to spend time with, and gets to be a dad to them, and he's really enjoying that right now. I say, that's great, fantastic. Well, on the next hole we got to, he asked me the same thing. He said, what would you say? What's something that you're happy about, that you're enjoying in your life? And I said, man, and Kelsey was with me, and she said, oh, that's easy. It's me, kind of joking and having fun. I said, it's funny she says that. I said, because there is a bit of truth to that. I said, I'm like this, like what we're doing right now, getting to be out on a golf course on a Saturday afternoon, getting to meet new people. I said, that's the stuff that I'm really enjoying right now. And I say this because last year, 2024, and I've told this story before. I've told bits and pieces of this story. Last year was a very, very challenging year for myself in business and leadership. Even being a husband, just trying to be a good husband I felt was challenging for me. And it was a lot of stuff that I brought on myself. I felt that I had to be everything to everyone all the time. And instead of actually focusing on building a business, building a life, building a marriage, building relationships, building all the stuff that I really want and actually want to enjoy, I felt like I was doing a lot of things because I had to, right? And sure, there's times in life where you have to do what you have to do, even if you don't want to do it. But I made a turn towards the end of last year, and I said, you know what? If I'm going to go out on this entrepreneurial journey, and I'm going to go out on the ledge day in and day out and risk my whole family's well-being, my financial well-being, my future, my retirement, my livelihood every day. If I'm going to go out and risk this, then by God, I'm going to build a life that I actually enjoy. I'm going to build a life. I'm going to build people into it. I'm going to build processes into it. I'm going to build boundaries into it that I actually enjoy. And so as a business owner, that's something that, sure, when you're starting out, you got to grind. You got to miss the stuff on Friday nights. You got to spend the weekends working. You got to maybe miss the holidays or the family events or the birthdays or whatever it might be, because your business doesn't care how you feel when you're building it. But eventually there comes a time where you're building your business, and if you are doing it right, you're getting it built into an organization, a machine, a system that has truly valuable individuals that fill the pieces of the system up and that run it, right? There's it's the African proverb that, John Maxwell says a lot, and I've heard it in, many of other places. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Well, I tried going fast, and I got to where I really didn't enjoy my life. Instead, I switched gears, and I said, okay, I've got good individuals on my team that want to be part of something bigger than themselves. How can I put their desire to contribute into the formula to help me build a life that I actually enjoy? And guys, I say all this not to sound braggadocious, not to be arrogant, not to be egotistical or anything like that, and make it sound like everything's just hunky-dory and perfect, because we have our challenges every day. But I'll tell you right now, more days than not this year, I've been able to go home and say, man, that was a tough day, but it was a good day. More often than not this year, I've been able to spend time with Kelsey, not just as somebody who's working in the business with me and talking about business and work, but doing things as husband and wife and enjoying our life together. More times this year, I've been able to just sit and have conversations with the people who work in our company, with people out and about, with clients, with friends, family, whoever it may be, and just have conversations to have conversations and build relationships and get to know them and hear about what they're going on, the goods and the bads and everything in between. And so I'm saying all this, guys, because I put in a lot of years proving my worth to a lot of people. And I proved it to a lot of people who probably didn't give a shit about my worth. I was proving it to them for me. But over the last year or two, I've really been confident in the value that I know we offer. And so when I know our value, because I've proved our worth for so long, I believe that's one of the recipes to building a life that you really enjoy. So like I said at the beginning of this, guys, whether you're talking about your employment at an organization or whether you're the business owner and you're trying to build it from the ground up, you have to spend an exponential amount of time proving your worth. But then once you've done that, once you've passed that mark where it's undeniable that the level of worth that you provide is second to none, then you have to know your value. And once you reach that point in life, guys, I can tell you from experience, you're able to look at things with a whole lot more confidence, walk with your chest out a little bit more, walk with your shoulders back, walk with your head up, and approach any and every situation that comes to you with nothing but confidence that you will overcome it. So, guys, I hope that provided some value for you this week, just like I do every week. But again, episode 150, I appreciate y'all for tuning in on this. I plan on getting back in front of you guys next week. But if you need anything in the meantime, as always, please do not hesitate to reach out.